Welcome back to Crown 4 News Weekend. So in 1795, Thomas Paine came up with this great idea that every person who lived in what was then the colonies, no, wait a minute, 1795. I'm sorry, that lived in the United States should get 10 pounds when he or she was 50 years old to help them in their old age. Well, it didn't come to pass, but over the years, retirement has obviously developed into a major part of life. It's getting to be a bigger part of life, and that is the subject of Miriam Goodman's book. It's called Reinventing Retirement, 389 bright ideas, and it's got a lot of interesting concepts. Whether you're planning on retiring in the next 3 years or 30 years, it's something you might want to be thinking about. When you talk about reinventing, what do you mean?
I mean that as a generation, the baby boomers think that they have to do everything differently than any generation ever did before, whether it's the sexual revolution, the women's revolution, civil rights, whatever it is, the baby boomers did it differently. So when it comes to retirement, they look and say, I don't want to do my father's retirement, I want to do it my way. And the reinvention that has worked the best is for people to find a new passion. You know, whatever it was that they were doing before, try something new. Maybe when you were a teenager, you were in a band, but then you had to really go get a job. So it's not too late. Get that instrument out of hock or buy a new one and find some people to play with. Anything you want to do, but be excited about it. You have to have a passion for whatever you're doing in retirement.
What if you just want to rest?
You know, you're not allowed to. I'm sorry, but the American culture says no more hammock. You know, you can do it when you want, but everybody's saying, well, what do you do all day? And you start to feel really guilty about it.
Well, don't you have to worry about being overscheduled like a five-year-old?
You do have to worry about that, and some people, you know, especially people who are workaholics, type A's, they're going to, excuse me, they're going to absolutely find themselves signed up to volunteer here and take classes there and do this and offer to babysit with the grandchildren and everything. And they do get overscheduled, and it is tense. So you've got to find out what you want. But really, the reinventing part, I think, for me, is that you've got to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm. So when you say find a passion, it means don't find 25 passions and run around and try and do
well,
them all.
Unless that's what makes you happy.
Okay. You talk about finding new playmates as one of the keys to a successful retirement. I'd never thought about that before.
Well, so many people, their social life kind of revolves around the people that they work with. And once they stop working, you know, they're not going to an office every day. Who are they going to chit-chat with? You know, we talk about the proverbial water cooler. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So people do need to find someone, and also a lot of those people haven't retired. So I did talk to someone who 5 people at UC retired at the same time. And they've got some kind of a buyout, and they now are a tight social group. They meet for lunch once a week, they go bowling, they watch movies together, whatever it is. But you need to find new playmates who may not be connected with your job. And the best way to do that is, again, to follow your passion wherever it is and force yourself to go over and talk to the people there. So if you're going to a lecture, you walk up to somebody afterwards who was there. Obviously, they have the same interests you do, or they wouldn't be there, and just talk to them. It's kind of like being the new kid in school.
Oh, that's got to be difficult. Whatever happened to the idea that, well, you're going to retire and you and your spouse will drift together romantically and happily into those golden years?
Well,
Isn't your spouse supposed to be your friend?
And for some people, it's wonderful. They really get to reconnect with their spouse and spend quality time together. It's wonderful. But for others, people who haven't been spending that much time together for the last 40 years, all of a sudden, my God, he's here all the time. He's in my kitchen. He's in, you know, and women especially are finding the invasion of a husband at home very difficult. And the men don't know what to do with themselves. I can't tell you how many people I interviewed, and the women said, my husband made me get rid of the cleaning lady because he didn't like to be in the house when she came. Well, as if he couldn't, you know, walk out the door and go to the park or go to the library or do something. The people don't know how to spend all that much time with each other because they haven't done it.
You have a great quote in here, which I have to read. This is a wife responding to her husband's suggestion to move into an assisted living facility. What does he mean, move to assisted living? He's had assisted living since we got married. So tell them what your next book is going to be, please.
My next book actually is about what happens to couples in retirement. And it's a really difficult issue because just the things we talked about, what happens is that men become kind of depressed and very dependent. And of course there's exceptions, but by and large the men don't know what to do with themselves, and the women find they've got to even make up something to do just to get out of their house. Another quote I have in there is about a woman who says, "I love my husband very dearly, but when I'm coming home and I see his car in the driveway, I want to keep on going." And because, yeah, I mean, it's sad to say, but the truth is too much togetherness is too much. So each of us has to get a life.
Reinventing Retirement, 389 bright ideas about family, friends, health, what to do, and where to live. You'll find it, it's done by Chronicle Books. Thank you very much, Miriam Goodman, for depressing the hell out of me. Back to you.
Oh, man.